Hello, everyone. Welcome back again. This is Abhishek from Zoom Abroad. And today I have got a special guest from Delhi, Raushan Tara Jaswal. Raushan has studied in University of Cambridge, LLM, with a Commonwealth Scholarship, which is a fully funded scholarship. And today we are going to take her experience about how did she get this and what she wants to share with all of you, those who are planning to study abroad and looking for scholarships. So welcome, Raushan.
Hi, thank you so much, Abhishek, for having me online. And I mean, that's the best way we can do right now, the interviews, I think, online.
Yes, yes. I think this is the more comfortable way as well, rather than going to a studio, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. That's true. I
Yeah,
would agree with you.
perfect. So, Roshan, I will just straight away crack into the first question is, you were doing already really well before you decided to go abroad, right? So why you felt the need of going abroad for study in first place? And why UK?
I think that's something. Okay. So first part of the question, thank you so much, Abhishek, for thinking I was doing really well. But at that time, I mean, I think this is something that's been like a childhood dream to go outside for
Hmm.
a sort of degree, and something that's been instilled in me by my parents. My father was an extremely is an extremely educated person, and he wanted his children to study, hopefully in the UK, which is sort of also the answer to your second question. That's probably why I was motivated to go to the UK.
Hmm.
Secondly, I think everybody, and that's my own research, that's talking to people who had gone to different countries. I had sort of two options open to me: either go to the best sort of universities, or my and or just go to countries where immigration was easier. So
Hmm.
I
Okay.
sort of took the harder way out in something that I can say that I wanted to, like, I chose to apply to the UK because it does house the best universities in the world. Even the immigration slash getting a job after a master's degree is not as lucrative, or was as lucrative, especially because of COVID and other visa
Hmm.
reasons, etc.
Hmm.
So I think these are the two reasons why I actually decided to apply to the UK, why was I interested in going to the UK, and also why I wanted to go to the different country to probably gain a different exposure.
Of course. So exposure is something that we hear quite commonly about people wanting to study abroad, but specifically digging into the law, right? Because the implication of your law degree from MIT in India and having a Cambridge law degree, isn't there that you also need to have some sort of a certification, the bar certification, before you start to apply for UK-based jobs in law?
Not really. So there are different ways in which you can practice law in UK. One is the solicitor route, which is basically working in law firms, and the other is the barrister route, which is basically people arguing in the courts. So both of them have very separate sort of qualification procedures in the UK, because what my understanding is that you don't even need to have a basic law degree to be either or. You can apply because there are practitioners courses for both the solicitor route as well as the bar route, the barrister route. Both have different sort of training contracts, and they training contracts for solicitors, pupilages for barristers. So there are various ways in which you can actually qualify as a lawyer in the UK. But you don't need to have qualifications to apply for the LLM.
Mhm.
Or you don't need, because LLM is a purely academic degree. It's not a practitioner's course, or it's not considered something that makes you eligible to practice in a particular country. So LLM strictly is just an extension of your bachelor's degree in terms of education, in terms of academia, and academic rigor. So that's sort of what the process is for application for the LLM.
Exactly. And I think one of your blog that I was reading on LinkedIn talks about that it is more of an academic degree, and you should not completely rely upon getting a job based on this LLM, which is a
Yes,
very
for
honest
sure.
feedback for many students, those who would think that getting a Cambridge LLM would get me into a job immediately. That is not guaranteed.
I
Amazing.
mean, it helps, but
Yeah.
I will not lie. It does. It did help me also to get a job and internships in London, in Geneva. I will not lie and say that Cambridge does not help and the stamp approval of Cambridge does not help. However, it just doesn't guarantee it.
Sure.
Even in the long term, like even if you do get an internship, it doesn't guarantee just because you have or are from a particular college and have a particular degree. It's more in terms of qualifications that you might want to. Um, I mean, you might want to go through that route if you want to work in a particular country, especially for
Sure.
lawyers.
Yeah, so just for the listeners, for the sake of understanding, many license-focused courses like nursing, MBBS, laws, they have a different way to entry to the market in terms of employment. So if you are looking to take any of these courses, it's better to take a professional advice on what certifications or licenses that you may need to get to
Yes.
work on that particular industry. So yeah, great. Coming on to the next question now, right? One of the achievements that we want to shout out about you is the Commonwealth Scholarship, right? And
Thank you.
what before you even applied for the scholarship, right? What was your understanding and how did you decide that I need to get a scholarship?
So I mean, we're from a reasonably middle class sort of family in India, so it's not like we can't afford. I mean, we would have taken an education loan otherwise. Um, but my brother and I applied at the same time. My brother's younger than I am, so technically we would have to fund two international educations, which honestly is something that's completely out of bounds for us. And, it was just going to be extremely exorbitant and something that I decided, I think in ninth grade, that I wanted to go for a master's. I decided I did not want to go for a bachelor's because it was extremely expensive, something that my family definitely could not afford. And if I do go for master's, I would definitely never take a penny from my parents, and go on my own merit and definitely have a scholarship. So something that I decided really early on. Um, I mean, you have an idea in your head, but the execution is just so much more different, and which is what I can tell you about the scholarship process as well. So I've received the Commonwealth Cambridge Trust Scholarship, which is something where the Commonwealth as well as Cambridge Trust funded me. So it wasn't just one source of funding that I received. And obviously, some people have often confused that scholarship with the main Commonwealth Scholarship, which is basically the country itself nominates you, and at least in India, it's the Ministry of Human Resources, the HRD Ministry, which um, recommends you, and they have their entire process. So it's not that; it's a bit different. So, firstly, for everybody who's listening, I actually got rejected from all of the other scholarships, all of them. Like I applied to I think 20. I got invited. I got shortlisted. I've gone through the final round of every scholarship that I applied for. Yet
Mhm.
I never received a scholarship, and this was literally the last straw that I did. I had just decided to go to Cambridge, and we had started working on the loan process and the ban process, and it just sort of happened. So, in terms of the application process for this particular scholarship that I have received, um, it basically involved first getting an admission to Cambridge. That was the first step. Secondly, what Cambridge often does is highlight potential people who are eligible for scholarships, and then they match what scholarship a person can get. Um, and they urge you to either apply if there is a different application process, or they nominate you directly if you have received a particular scholarship from the trust itself. So the trust is, again, a trust is based, like I think there are 500 or like an exorbitant amount of donors that donates to the trust, and they have certain ideologies. My friend from Libya, she was from a war-torn region and she was doing the LLM with me. She got the Rowan Atkinson scholarship, which was basically targeted for people coming from war-torn areas. So different people have contributed to the trust and they've decided that this is what the scholarship amount is earmarked for. So I was lucky because none of this was earmarked technically for me. Cambridge Trust decided to decides often to nominate about 5 to 8 students every year to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. And then the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission also scrutinizes their application and sees whether they're actually able and willing to sort of fund their education and they think they have potential. So that's how it happens. So Cambridge basically told me that this is a scholarship that we think you're eligible for and you should definitely apply for it. I did apply for it. I got, and this is something that I do definitely talk about, I got put on the reserve list. I didn't get nominated in the first instance. I just got put on the reserve list saying that if somebody else backs out, or if the Commonwealth thinks, or they urge Cambridge, because Cambridge also has to fund some part of the scholarship, right? So they have to be in agreement as well. So I was on the reserve list for, I think, about 3-4 months. And I asked them very realistically, I asked Cambridge very realistically, do I actually stand a chance to be a nominated candidate? Yeah, and even get it. They said no, because often, why would anybody, let's be very honest here, why would anybody who has a scholarship to Cambridge turn it down? Yeah, so which makes sense. But I think when I met the Commonwealth Secretariat, when I went to England, I sort of figured out when I got the scholarship that it was mostly the Commonwealth that had pushed for my application and asked for funding. I think from both sides, even Cambridge had admitted, because they did put me on the reserve list, they did tell me that I am eligible and a good candidate for this particular scholarship. So that's how it sort of worked out. As for the application process, it was just that Cambridge decides, or in a shared scholarship, basically the university decides who is most eligible. It's not an open application like the Commonwealth Normal Scholarship is, which anybody who has an admission or a potential admission to a particular university can apply for. And the UK specifically has a lot of Commonwealth scholarship. I would highly urge people to actively look for universities. So they partner every year. I think Cambridge has not topped, I think I was one of the last scholars, Commonwealth scholars, shared scholars from Cambridge, because I don't think they've partnered up again with Cambridge Trust, or Cambridge hasn't bid for the Commonwealth Scholarship. But I would genuinely urge everybody to apply, because honestly, it does work out. It just requires a lot of perseverance, and you just need to keep at it.
One thing that I could hear very clearly, and probably the listeners would also make a note of, is the patience is important. Planning is important for you, because it will take time. It will not happen overnight. You made an application, you get an interview, and for God's sake, it is sponsoring everything for your study. So it is lakhs and lakhs of rupees going to your education. So they want to make sure that they're funding the right people. So you got to plan in advance, at least a year in advance, if not more, and then possibly you stand a chance. But still, so one thing that I uniquely liked about your story here is, one, that Commonwealth scholarship is different than the other Commonwealth scholarship from the Indian HRD government, which most of us do not know, right? So how would you find this Commonwealth in partnership with the trust? Where would you find that scholarship information?
So that is again on the Commonwealth Scholarship website. So what happens is you have two different types of scholarship. One is Commonwealth, which basically Commonwealth nations from their ministries, or however the process is in India, through their ministries, nominate X amount of candidates. And that application starts in November, December. So that is sort of before even your app, even when before you get admissions, but they ask you to foresee where you might be going. So and it's around the same time where usually UK schools have their deadlines for masters as well. So that's the Commonwealth route, where your ministries are involved, where you have a longer sort of, in terms of time duration, a longer process in terms of waiting. And then once you do get admitted, they ask for your admission letters, etc. Now, what the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is, and it's, by the way, it's partnered across universities in the United Kingdom. I think about 50, 60 universities every year do sign up and give Commonwealth Shared Scholarships. And what happens in the Commonwealth Shared Scholarships is that the university decides who to recommend or nominate. And now, so basically, instead of you simultaneously applying for scholarships as well as colleges, you already have an admission from a particular college. And they decide, okay, this person is from X country, so it meets one criteria. This person has the merit, and it does depend on merit. I don't think it's a need-based scholarship at all. I think the people who I have interacted with throughout my stay in England and met a lot of Commonwealth scholars, Commonwealth Shared, normal Commonwealth as well. They all have been extremely meritorious in their universities, and that's why they get the scholarship. Now, the shared scholarship is different because A, you already are admitted to the university. B, the university decides. It's not your country that decides whether you are a nominated candidate, reserved candidate, etc. Because even the Commonwealth Scholarship, normal Commonwealth, has a nominated list and then a reserved list. So it's the same for universities, but it's the university that's nominating you. So where you can find this information is on Commonwealth Scholarship. Just Google Commonwealth Scholarships, and I think it's ComSchols, the website. And then you can see the shared institutional partners who have signed up for the next academic year to see which, firstly, you can see which university is being covered by the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and the courses that come under their ambit. I think the Commonwealth Commission, the Scholarship Commission, has 6 fields that it wants to promote. And the 6 fields have particular degrees corresponding in different universities. So the LLM was under global justice. And that's where, you can basically differentiate between, let's say you want to apply to Cambridge, but then you see that Cambridge does not actually have a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. So maybe it's something that you would like to consider while you're applying as well, right? Secondly, okay, let's say that Cambridge does offer the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship for the year that you are applying. Does it offer it for the degree that you are hoping to apply for? Because that is extremely important as well. It's not like every degree in Cambridge is eligible for the shared scholarship as well. So there are specific degrees. Mostly it's humanitarian based. But a friend of mine, she got it as well, and she did commercial law. Like she did the LLM with me with the same scholarship, but she did commercial law. So it doesn't have to particularly pertain to humanitarian benefits, but it's just good to have, that sort of angle as well involved. But yeah, that's how you go about figuring out about at least my scholarship.
Amazing, amazing. So guys, I will definitely put the link in the description about this Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, and also about the more deadlines and information about Commonwealth Scholarship. So if you are planning for the 2022 intake in September, probably this is the right time that you start looking into these websites, shortlisting them, start preparing for these questions. So and then the inspirations like Raushan and other scholars that we have previously spoken to would always guide you and repeat seeing this video. Please do share these experience and video with your friends, with your other colleagues who may find this more interesting. And if not interesting, at least they would get inspired to see personalities like Raushan and motivate them to experience and explore more. So with that, I would like to thank you once again, Raushan, for sharing your experience. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. I definitely did. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Just a nice sort of reminder in terms of the application itself. Do have your 1 year, 5 year, 10 year goals pretty clear out in your head, because those are extremely important application questions, which they definitely ask in the Commonwealth Scholarship. Because if you look at the website, if you look at their goals, if you don't fit into it, you don't have to, fake it, because they will know if you're faking it. But definitely do look out for certain things that they ask for, and they're all mentioned in their website. So have your 1 year, 5 year, 10 year goals ready, because that are important questions that they do ask. And definitely have a very clear picture of why you want to do a particular thing. I think that's something that's extremely important, and that's what got me through my application processes throughout the time that I did apply.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. One thing that was common with all the scholars that we have spoken to in past is that the clarity of your long-term goal, the clarity of your thoughts, what you want to achieve and do it, is the primary reason identified so far. So that will get you in. So, and my personal understanding as well is you get the scholarship or you don't. The clarity is needed for yourself, right?
Of course.
So you need to know where you're going
this in the first place?
in the first place.
Exactly.
So as long as you know it, you would be able to tell people and convince them to support you.
Definitely.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much once again, Raushan, for sharing these thoughts. And I hope this will help a lot of people to achieve their career dreams. Thank you once again.
I hope so too.
Okay. See you soon. Cheers.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.